Good evening. Welcome to Athens, excuse me, Athens City Council meeting. It's Monday, July 15th. This is a regular session of Athens City Council, and we have, as usual, several ordinances that we will be dealing with tonight. We have a quorum present with actually all 7 members of council are here. We do need to appoint our acting clerk. Our clerk is still off carousing around the world, having a great time. Do we have someone who will volunteer to be the acting clerk? I think Member Nisley would do that. And we have a set of minutes.
Motion and second to appoint her.
Okay.
I motion that we accept Ms. Nicely as the acting clerk.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting Member Nisley as acting clerk signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, don't say anything, please. So we have appointed Member Nisley as acting clerk. We do have a set of minutes that we need to dispose of. Our regular session minutes held on July 1st, 2013. We have a motion to accept.
I motion we accept the minutes of July 1st, 2013.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We have accepted those minutes. Moving on to communications. Mayor Weil, do we have something?
Really just a few things. Nothing really particular. This will be the last session of City Council till September, I believe, so just we'll still be working on all the projects while you guys are entertaining yourself elsewhere. I may call a special session if it's needed. I'd like to thank everybody who attended the ribbon cutting for the Southside Park. This is a collaboration with the Rotary and the city. I'd like to give kudos especially to our Arts, Parks, and Recreation Department that worked with the nuts and bolts to make it go well. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's very nice. I'd also like to thank Les Cornwell of Cornwell Properties. Last week, his crew was busy cleaning the sidewalks on Court Street. I was very impressed with that. I know the university does their parts as well as Phoenix on Court regularly does it. I noticed that as well. So there's quite a bit of activities going on to make Uptown look nice, and I want to thank everybody for that. Other than that, I don't have any other announcements, unless you have something.
Service Safety Director?
We're going to open bids tomorrow for the Columbus Road Lancaster Street project. If we have a successful bidder, that project will begin probably in the next 2 weeks. But the Oxbow's on schedule.
We were going to ask that. The Oxbow renovations are on schedule to open.
Next week, the painters will arrive, and then they'll be working rapidly to try to get the painting done prior to the opening.
Will we have permanent balustrades at that time or temporary? There was some discussion.
We believe that we'll be able to re-secure the existing exterior rails, and then we'll have the new interior. So.
Questions at this point? Did I see a hand up? No?
Just a communication, and that is that I believe Boogie and the Bricks is this weekend, so there will be street closures down on Court Street.
Union to State, I believe, as always. And I'm supposed to be in a tricycle race competing against
That's right.
Rick Cross and
Good luck.
and various other entities, Frank Solich. So that's in the morning. So you can go watch me fall off a tricycle or something.
And then
Auditor Hecht, anything?
No report.
Law Director Knight?
Nothing for you tonight, Mr. President.
Okay. We have a communication here. Business known to us as Odd Lots on East State Street is asking for a liquor permit to sell wine and mixed beverages in sealed containers. If we have any comments regarding this, we need to make them before August 2nd. Moving on. Ordinances for third reading. Ordinance 8813, an ordinance granting a revocable license to the owner of 39 Hooper Street for an existing fence on the city right-of-way. Introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
I move to adopt ordinance 8813.
Second?
This is a renewable license. The owners, the property changed ownership, and so they needed to resubmit the license back to the city. And so this is the third reading tonight, and we've had no one come in and discuss it from the neighborhood or anything, so it's pretty standard.
Any questions from council members? Okay. All those in favor of accepting ordinance 8813 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 8913, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Clean Ohio Fund for the purchase of property from the Hope family and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt ordinance 8913.
Second?
Quite simply, this ordinance authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the Clean Ohio Fund purchase, which is approximately slightly over 11 acres, 11.209. And this would be property purchased from the Hope family, which in turn would provide land needed for the construction of the Northwest Athens Bikeway Spur Phase 2.
Could you remind us where this land is located?
Sure, and likewise others can aid in this. It's just beyond the new spur of the bike trail at the end of West State Street Park, and would be on the other side of the river, correct?
Yes, it's bounded by 682 to the kind of southwest, Hocking River to the east, and Armitage Road. Portions of it are the railroad, actually, I think, to the west-northwest. I think there was on the ordinance itself, there was a exhibit of the land. And again, this
There
would be
is.
adjacent to our park area, would be a conservation restrictions to it. This would actually add us to be able to extend our bike path going across the old railroad trestle, across onto Armitage Road, eventually connecting with University Estates and hopefully Moonville Spur as well, if we can get all the way to Benton County. Not us, but all the other entities. I think that's about what you need to know, I guess.
The old bridge is usable for pedestrians and bicycles, I believe, at this point.
Correct.
already.
Yes, it is. That was done about 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
Member Nisley?
Just an additional comment to add to yours and the mayor's about it being for recreation, but it's primarily intended for passive recreation, since it's the Clean Ohio Conservation Fund's money that it's being used to purchase it with.
Is riparian the correct word? Is that the...
It fits the riparian definition, yes.
Thank you.
It's floodway, floodplain, I mean.
Any other comments or questions regarding this ordinance? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance 8913 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 9313, an ordinance authorizing acquisition of the Dowler family property on Cardiff Lane to remain as undeveloped parkland and declaring an emergency. Also introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'd like to move to adopt ordinance 9313.
Second.
Excuse me, I'd like to point out it's not really off of Cardiff Lane, but Far Hills, just for geographic purposes.
Okay.
So you might want to amend that, or at least correct it. It's really more of a typo.
As long as the body of the ordinance is fine, the caption itself actually has no legal effect, so.
Okay.
Okay, moving along here. So we heard at length about this particular acquisition from our city planner, Mr. Paul Logue. This is approximately 15 acres of undeveloped park, which in turn would be named the John and Aveline Dowler Park. This would also have a perpetual deed restriction. The property would be used for general recreation purposes as a woodland and wildlife preserve, unencumbered only by transportation trails such as biking, hiking, and walking trails. And ancillary facilities such as picnic and rest areas would be further subject to the right-of-way of the City of Athens to access the land for public utility improvements, provided the City of Athens returns the site to general recreation purposes as a woodland and wildlife preserve. Again, this is 15 acres. There's a donation, a contribution of $15,000 from the Dowler family. And again, there were some challenges to acquire this, and we heard at length from the planner regarding the acquisition.
And his impression that it was a really fine piece of land.
My understanding is, yes, and that it will be a part of a larger park process and project tying eventual lands, a couple different parks land purchases together. I have, as we discussed in previous meetings, received emails from some Southside residents about the challenges of the land because of the, I think, this prone to slip and maybe geographical challenges, the geography of that area. But I think with proper planning, we'll be okay to use this as a trail facility.
Member Reisner?
Yeah, comments?
No, I have no comments.
The only thing I would like to add is as we move along, I think including those people that live in Far Hills, I've been contacted by a couple Far Hills folks that they be included in some of this planning, and I've forwarded that on to people. That's just something we want to make sure that we do because they're very familiar with the land and what happens and with it.
Yes.
Mayor Weil?
Yes, I think I got a missive from Mr. Riley, Professor Riley. I know him from biological sciences. He's a next door neighbor of this, and he's aware of, he's very much into it. As I said, I know him from his from working with him. And again, this is another part of we're talking about the Hope land, we're talking about the Dower property. These are long-term goals we have to actually increase green space, but also just to enhance our city. One of the things about today at the Southside Park is that, again, we live, work, and play is an important part of what we do, too. And that includes the places to do it, public spaces for people to enjoy themselves, whether it's parks, and this is, hopefully will end up to be a nice, low-pressure park. And that's where we're going with it. Not this year, not next year, it's a long-term plan. Some way to the Moonville Tunnel, we'll get there too.
Have you noticed road work on Route 50? They're building a tunnel under the bridges rather than keeping the highway there. So Moonville Trail, any day now. Any comments from this side of the? All those in favor of ordinance 9313 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 9413, an ordinance authorizing an additional extension of the current franchise agreement with Ohio Power Company for use of the city right-of-way as authorized by ordinance O-13512 and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilmember Fall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt 9413.
Second.
As it says, it's an agreement with the Ohio Power Company for use with our right-of-way, and it's a pretty straightforward agreement. We did use this process to explore other options, though they were not taken up. So we will further those in the next round.
Okay. Questions, comments? All those in favor of ordinance 9413 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Okay. At this point, we're going to move on to ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 9613, an ordinance amending the 2013 appropriation ordinance introduced by Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll refer this to Councilmember Patterson, who began the discussion on it last week.
Thank you, Member Nicely. I believe that this will be suspended, so therefore I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
On 9613.
Second.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to, explain. The reason for suspending, again, is the timeline for getting this approved, these ordinances approved, or this ordinance approved.
We have a motion to suspend on ordinance 9613. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The rules have been suspended. Now, Member Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to accept 9613.
Seconds.
Thank you. Again, this ordinance has three parts to it, the first of which is to appropriate $3,000 from the CDBG fund, 248 TC 300 for an air conditioning unit in the property that property at 25 Central Avenue. Again, we have several properties that are managed by the Athens Metropolitan Housing Authority, and this would be including central air conditioning unit in that particular property. The second is $30,000 for the parking garage fund, which is 730 TC 300 for a comprehensive analysis of the structures. Again, this would be a design services. MS Consultants came out with a fairly detailed analysis of the repairs that would be needed in the parking garage, and so therefore this would be, again, for design services to look to see what this is going to end up costing. And finally, the 2013 appropriation ordinance 125-12 be amended to decrease the internal service fund 865 TC 100 by $30,000 and increasing the TC 200-300 by $10,000 and the TC 500 by $20,000. And this would be to have the funding available to invest in hardware, IT hardware, which is much needed.
Auditor Head, looked like you were getting ready to say something.
Well, I'm fine. No,
Okay,
everything you said is right.
good job.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor of adoption of ordinance 9613 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ordinance 9613 has been adopted. We're going to move on again. We have a couple ordinances, several ordinances, I guess, for first reading. Ordinance 9713, an ordinance amending ordinance 6613, authorizing the Service Safety Director to advertise and accept bids where necessary and enter into contracts for the University Estates street improvements, project number 265, and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I move to suspend, I do need to do one thing. I need to make a motion to amend 9713, which is an amendment of an earlier one.
We
And
have a second here.
thank you. And the purpose being that we need to amend the amount in Section 3. It still contains the old amount of $720,000.
Well,
Or-
we just left that because it says up to 720,000, so we can change it, but that was the original,
Estimate.
engineering estimate.
Is the number range just
And
up or down?
Down.
it says up to 720,000, however, Section 2 did not say up to, it had that specific amount, so we just left
So
it.
perhaps I should withdraw my motion to amend.
Sure.
Okay, and then you'll accept it. Thank you. Mr. President, I request that we consider this ordinance 9713 under suspension of the rules.
Second.
And the purpose for the suspension being that these are for the University Estate Streets improvements, which are needing to be done as quickly as possible.
We have a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 9713. Any discussion at this moment? Okay, all those in favor of suspending the rules on ordinance 9713 signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Member Nisley, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt ordinance 9713.
Second?
Okay, thank you. And this particular ordinance is part of the assessment process for our improvements to certain designated roads in the University Estates improvement. It's part of a larger series of ordinances that we've declared so that the roads can be repaired and property owners can be assessed. As reported last week in the committee meeting, the original estimate of $720,000 has now been revised downward to $515,000. That's the current estimate. So we're amending that original appropriation of $720,000 down to an appropriation of $515,000.
And maybe one of these members out here could remind me that it seems that there was something special that the streets director was.
Are you talking about the assessment levels or
We're
the
gonna
Talking
say-
about the
Recycling.
reusing of the material that.
Regrinding up and recycling the asphalt.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's, again, our staff.
Public Works came up with an alternative that's cheaper to
Public
do.
Works Director
Andy Stone.
Andy Stone has found a way to hopefully save some money on this project.
So I have a question. So for the homeowners that were assessed, I assume that their assessments, how does that work?
That will be determined at the conclusion of the project. It will be based on actual costs. And
Okay.
so, yes, ultimately, we assume that this will.
Everyone will save money.
Member Butler?
Thank you. I want to take a brief minute. I know we've talked about this before, and I'm gushing with gratitude here and thanks. This is a project that was very challenging. I know it's not done yet, but again, I want to applaud the auditor, the mayor's office, the Public Works Director, Andy Stone, and Councilmember Nisley for, again, all of your combined leadership tackling this issue. It's very intense, and the West Side residents that live up there and reside there have expressed immense amount of displeasure in the past with the streets and their disrepair, and I believe will be really grateful and thankful for this project to be moving forward. So again, I have a lot of thanks to everyone involved, and it was challenging on a lot of levels.
Well, and I think thanks to Councilmember Butler for your continuing the conversation when sometimes it seemed like we just didn't know the next step, and Councilmember Patterson for meeting with the association members. So it's just continuing the conversation and the city's willingness to help us move forward with the solution. I know Law Director Lang's helped us in the past with what are the possible solutions and scenarios on this as we were beginning to look at the costs and how we could manage it. So it's great.
Auditor Head?
I was just going to maybe clarify a little bit more as far as the authorization. We've had this happen before because the street fund it has money available, and part of this whole project is not part of the assessments. It's part of the road that the city has already accepted. It's our responsibility to improve, and this just gives them more leeway if they get in there and need to spend more money. As I said, it says up to, but as far as the actual amount that they can appropriate, that's tied more into the amount of money that we're borrowing to actually do this project.
Thank you. Member Patterson?
I just have a quick comment. I want to kind of echo what Member Butler was saying about the length of this, but something that I do want to bring to the attention of all of you, and that is that I've received emails from a couple of the residents up there just wanting to know more information about the progress on what's going on, and maybe there's a way we can get the information out to the residents up there or something to kind of keep them informed. I imagine that's probably going on right now, but again, I just wanted to share with you information that I've received from people who live up there and just chomping at the bit, wanting to know, is it still moving forward?
How soon?
It is. We have our pre-construction meeting tomorrow, and that way, then from there, we'll have the contractor's timeline, and we will indeed will be notifying the residents up there, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the same thing with the street repairs that are occurring right now. We're notifying the different street property owners, so.
We are at the point of approving adopting ordinance 9713. All those in favor of adoption of this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Moving on to ordinance 9813, an ordinance amending the 2013 appropriation ordinance. Also, Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we consider ordinance 9813 under suspension of the rules.
Second?
And the reason for this being that these are two grants that the city is to receive, and the work is to begin as soon as possible.
Member Nisley is requesting that we suspend the rules on ordinance 9813. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Member Nisley, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve ordinance 9813.
Second?
Okay. And this particular ordinance would appropriate to the recreation fund balance two different amounts. Section 1 is for a grant from the Oblenis Foundation for $10,054, and this is for pool improvements. And these would be for new pool chairs and shade canopies. The second grant contained, and the amount is contained in Section 2, is $10,000. And this is for a second grant that is from PetSmart, and this is to purchase and install shade structure and furniture at the Athens East Dog Park.
One clarification, because they had applied for $16,000 to Oblenis and received 10, so I know pool chairs, but we'll get the nice shade.
Okay, so it's not, it's no pool chairs, okay.
Well, take your own.
Or huddle under the umbrella.
For a blanket.
Stand there.
Not more trees.
Okay.
Any questions about this particular ordinance? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance 9813 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Again, this ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 9913, an ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to effect a governmental electricity aggregation program with opt-out provisions pursuant to Section 4928.20 Ohio Revised Code, directing this Athens County Board of Elections to submit a ballot question to the electors and declaring an emergency. Introduced by all members of council. Who will be speaking for us, for all of us?
I will.
Okay. Thank you.
It's like everybody.
Member Fall.
Okay. This, I would like to suspend the rules of council for this
Second.
evening. Okay. Being that we need to get this in by August 2nd, to the Board of
August 7th.
Board
Ballot
of
time.
Elections to get it on the ballot. So,
Okay. It is obvious that we need to suspend the rules on this to meet the deadline. All those in favor of suspending the rules on ordinance 9913 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that we adopt 9913.
Second.
This ordinance, as we discussed last week, is modeled on the ordinance that we put in for the ballot initiative that we did for the natural gas aggregation that the city now has in place, but we haven't acted upon because we haven't seen the right market for it. We would like to go ahead with electricity aggregation to be put on the ballot. We think that it's an important option for the city residents. Just today, I got 2 different phone calls from people wanting my business. And so as we see, the market is going to be really moving, and this would give the citizens of Athens probably an easier way of dealing with the market changes, because they could just say, nope, thank you, and not have to deal with all these marketers. This does not pass anything, it's just to put it on the ballot for the November election.
Mayor Weil?
A couple things. This is, by putting on the ballot, this is the concept of requiring somebody to opt out if they don't want to be included in the mix. I had a call earlier this afternoon from Chris Spiel, the county commissioner. The county commissioners plan to put this on the ballot as well. They were talking to the PUCO and saying that if it goes on the ballot countywide, we'd be voting on it on the county level as well. So the question comes across, do we put this on the ballot and have redundancy? But again, we're predicting that it will be passed by the county commission to put on the ballot. We're predicting at that point that the county would actually all vote to be for that ballot initiative. My advice would be, I conferred with Pat Lang there, and his suggestion is to put this forward so we have a certain amount of redundancy, but at the same time, we can always withdraw this if it does seem to be superfluous. And again, we could be in tandem with the county, and therefore more purchasing power to us, and gives us those options. There are brokers out there who are approaching us all the time saying, we'll go shopping for you. The discussion, of course, if you remember, Allahu Ghazni many times was talking about trying to put a renewable component in there, but that's something everybody will have to weigh out if this does pass on how we want to go about doing it and what we want.
Well, and part of the ordinance as well is there have to be public hearings.
Yes.
And those kinds of things. So I think that there would be a lot of opportunity for constituents to really state their opinions and discuss and, whatever. It has been, we know other cities in Ohio are discussing other different ways to get their energy and how they want to receive that too. So I think there'll be a lot of room for discussion.
At the very least, it's a chance to save money because the landscape of electrical generation is changing.
Right.
And if the county moves forward and we end up rescinding this or just in order to keep from both, having 2 identical ballot questions, appearing before the voters, then we'll still have those public hearing requirements. So even if this moves forward on a county level, there'll be all sorts of opportunities for public input on the plan.
I think it's a good idea to pursue this on our own. And there's always a possibility that the county voters may decide, well, no, we don't want to be a part of anything like this. But on the other hand, the residents of Athens City may decide, yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you say, we have a sort of a built-in redundancy here.
Yes. Member Butler?
Thank you. Just a quick question or clarification. So I apologize if this sounds somewhat naive, but correct me if I'm wrong. This is for the city, their
Yes.
purchase power.
Yes.
So this would give permission to the city.
To go shopping.
Correct. As a governmental agency, entity, that the city would be able to pick or
Mhm.
determine. Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not just for the city utilities, it's for the people and within the city
Inclusive, okay.
boundaries.
All 23
Okay.
to 24,000 citizens.
Okay.
And again, we could do this without a ballot, say, okay, please come to us and opt in, or in other words, say, contact everybody calls in and says, yes, we want to do this. In this case, they'd have to say, we want to be out of the mix. And again, we'll have to put a lot of public information out there. And again, we'll be looking for the best deal possible. If we don't see something, just like there was concern about the gas aggregation, that we, ram it down somebody's throat, but it did not occur because we did not see the mix we wanted to see and pursue it.
We did discuss this at the luncheon with President McDavis last week. This was brought up as well, and they were very interested in the discussion. And
They use some energy, too.
they do.
A little bit, yeah. Anybody else comment? The rules have been suspended. Now we're voting to adopt ordinance 9913. All those in favor of adoption of this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ordinance has been adopted. We have a resolution, a three-reading resolution. This is up for third reading. Resolution 1013, a resolution declaring it necessary to replace existing curbs and sidewalk deemed in poor condition as part of the Columbus Road and Road North Lancaster's, as part of the Columbus Road North Lancaster Street Infrastructure Improvements Project and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Mr. President, I move to adopt. Do we adopt resolutions? Yes.
Second.
I think the main issue related to this, we've discussed it in the past, is that we will be setting up the assessment group as well again to discuss the replacement. So the city, as everyone knows, is in charge of the curbs, and the sidewalks are the homeowners or landowners. So we will be setting up, after this passes, an assessment phase to that. And we will be requesting citizen volunteers again to help us with that process. So that's the main thrust of this resolution. Is there anything else I need to add to
We
that?
just wanted to alert you that the engineer's estimate, they've revised the assessment for the property owners, and it's gone down by about $6,000. Once again, these are still all considered estimates until the bids come in
Okay.
Again,
tomorrow. We'll see how it goes.
and this is a part of the process. Again, this is the first step. The clerk of council will send out letters with the assessment amounts. If somebody contests it, we'll have to convene a board of assessments. Your legislation will have to follow through on that as well. The hearing would occur. We'd assess the property owners who have that appeal would have a chance to come forward. And the citizens, 3 citizens who want to sit through this or volunteer there. Well, you know, it is a chore, but at the same time, it's worthwhile. They'll make a recommendation, and then you'll have to accept it. And we've been doing this. This is no different than the University of
Right.
States and the other
We're getting
ones.
good at this.
Yes, I'm glad you are.
All right.
Any other comments regarding this resolution? All those in favor of adoption of Resolution 1013 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The resolution has been adopted. We have a recommendation to accept the auditor's financial reports for June 2013. All those in favor of this, accepting these reports, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have adopted the auditor's financial reports for June 2013. I'm sorry.
Nobody motioned.
I would like to make a motion that we...
And I'll second.
Okay.
Second?
Yes, you're right. We jumped ahead. Okay.
And we'll
I don't want
vote
to
again.
confuse Chris.
Can happen easily.
Do we need to do it all over again?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Or,
Okay. Anything else? Yes.
I have an announcement. The sun is back this week after monsoon season, and I just wanted to share an invitation from the Athens Public Library, who will be flipping the switch on their new solar array on August 13th, and they invite members of the public to attend a ceremony at 10 a.m. on Tuesday the 13th at the Athens Public Library on Home Street. Light refreshments will be served, and there will be fun in the sun activities for all ages.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from council?
I need to make an announcement. The Transportation Committee is meeting at 1 o'clock. July 16th, we're meeting here. We are meeting here in conference, City Council chambers.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant the
No.
front conference room or...
Okay, the mayor's conference
First floor.
room on the first floor. We will be meeting,
What time was that?
1 o'clock. And several,
And
more
all-
than one count, well, there'll be several three, at least three of us that I know of.
1
All
o'clock?
members are
Welcome.
welcome, and members of the public are welcome,
12:30.
always. Patterson.
I'd also like to make an announcement. Thank you, Mr. President. Wednesday evening at 5:30 in the basement of Oblenis Hospital, the Commission on Disabilities will be having its monthly meeting. Again, that's also open to the public.
Boogie on the Bricks this weekend, Saturday, correct?
Good time.
And another street closing
Free.
will be August 10th. August 10th will be a street closing for Bounty on the Bricks as well. So a couple street closings coming up while we're on recess.
I'm told they're running out of tickets slowly. but-
Yeah, they're-
Wow.
And again, this is all for the Southeastern Ohio Food Bank, proceeds from this, which is very important.
Before we go away, we do have an opportunity for citizens to speak on any legislative items or cover services that have not been covered so far. Sir, did you want to talk to us? Come up, and there should be a sign-in sheet. Please just sign your name and then,
Podium out if there is one at the podium.
no. Mayor Y will
I
throw you
will-
a piece of paper here.
Here.
You got a piece of paper? Okay, great. Here you go.
We allow 3 minutes, but that doesn't start until you get signed in.
What's that?
Said we do allow 3 minutes for citizens to speak, but that doesn't start until you get signed in and introduce yourself.
Andrew Reeves. I reside up on Columbia Avenue. I don't know if this is the right place or not, but I had questions about a street, Lancaster, to the right of the quick change. I know for at least the past 3 to 4 years, I've been requesting that the road be repaired.
This is the brick portion, right?
The brick portion, yes. And I have done some research. To the best of my knowledge, it's not any historical part of the city, so the bricks don't have to remain. So my question is, I've been reporting for years about these holes. They're horrible. It's causing damage to my truck. Last week, I put a dent in the rim on my motorcycle because there was a random brick in the middle of the road that I was unable to see at night. I know if I'm having problems, everybody else that lives up there is having problems with the same road. I've requested information on what's going on with this, if it's going to be taken care of, what time frame, and I've received nothing. So that's my
While you're
question
up
to
here,
y'all.
For
We do have a
clarification.
project going on, getting ready to start.
Yes, we do.
And what do we know about this part of Lancaster?
I had not heard this, it's never been brought to my attention until this evening regarding that particular spot, but we can look at wrapping that repair in there if it's not already planned. don't
Yeah, I know
think
I've
it's-
been,
You didn't attend the open house that we had?
no, this is the first I've done anything like this. But I know I've been around the area for 26, 28 years, and I know that road has always been horrible, and it's
You
just
need to
getting worse.
clarify where you're discussing, because I don't think this is,
North Lancaster.
Right, I
To the
know.
right of the quick change.
right, you're talking about in front of the welfare department.
Yes.
So,
It's not included in this project?
right,
No.
I'm sorry, I got a little confused on what is a quick change.
right.
I was thinking of a laundromat.
The oil change place.
But we can look at that.
Alrighty. And I was wondering if there's any way that, residents on these streets that use that road can be kept involved with updates or anything. So,
You mean use Lancaster Street
yes,
during
Lancaster.
the project?
No, and updates on what is being done about this. People that live on Lancaster and Columbia Avenue and on out past Stroud's. I know we get a lot of traffic through there.
Well, we're actually having a transportation meeting tomorrow, so I think we can talk with our city engineer and see. In the past, the challenge has been the bricks and the brick replacement.
Yeah,
So
and that's,
we get pressure sometimes from citizens to maintain what is existing in brick, and it only costs about 5 times more than the asphalt. Again, it lasts longer also, so.
And I think they tried flattening some of it out about 2 years ago, but again, every time you mess with the utilities underneath, the whole thing changes.
Yes.
See, you never get it exactly the same way.
However, sir, two things are happening. The Transportation Committee is meeting tomorrow. Again, tell us the time.
1 o'clock in the first floor conference room.
If you or
Downstairs.
somebody could come to that, that would be great. And also, we are just at the verge of commencing a large project on Lancaster Street, Columbus Road area. But the Service Safety Director is saying that she can make sure that at least we're looking at the area you're talking about and hopefully dealing with that. Maybe not in the full scale that you're speaking of, but getting rid of the worst of it. So this is a good opportune time for you to come to us.
I was,
Yes, Member
correct me,
Butler.
thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the city website, I know we've changed the website a couple times, but there used to be a tracking, there used to be
Pothole repair.
pothole repair
Still
area.
there.
I've submitted multiple times.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll check into it.
Thank you.
Member Pattinson?
I'm just curious, does that brick road extend behind the fire department as well?
Yes.
Station
Yes.
1, so
Yes. That portion's in pretty good shape.
It's in excellent.
It's actually the portion between the stop sign there and
Columbus Road.
Road.
Or Columbia Road.
Yeah.
Columbia Road begins.
Yeah, where Columbia begins, yes.
Don't leave.
I've experienced it a lot myself. I've got a nice squeak in my car because of it.
I saw that brick that was out of place the other day, too. I go out there all the time.
Did you fix that brick?
And I've complained, I'm
Did you
sorry,
put it
but I've
back
been
in?
complaining for about 10 years about that.
Join the crowd. Seriously, this is a really good time to bring this issue up. So, we are going on hiatus, City Council. The third thing we need to talk about is when we're going to schedule this for next year, because the university calendar has changed and it affects so many of us that we need to talk about that. So, however, we will be gone starting this evening through the month of August. Our first meeting will be the day after Labor Day, which is a Tuesday.
Third.
The 3rd of September. However, the city never sleeps. Seriously, questions, concerns, problems come up, please feel free to call the city. Lots of numbers in the front of the phone book, and everybody will do the best to take care of your concern.
And council members as well. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Obviously,
Oh, yes,
we're here.
please.
We're not like we go into the Ethernet somewhere. We're still around.
Most of us are going to be here most of the time. Yes.
And council, I would state, kind of hold in reserve, the mayor's already said, in terms of calling a special session if needed, or if not, perhaps a special session in advance of the first meeting in September, based on any immediate needs that we find.
Hopefully none. But you never know.
You never know. Okay.
You know how to find us.
Yep.
Member Pappy, you're going to talk to this
I
gentleman?
am.
Okay. We are adjourned.
There you go.